Greetings, warlords. Today we're exploring a new method for painting gold. The breastplates and helmets on these ancient horsemen are perfect for this. We'll learn something new, and by the end, hopefully you're convinced that these muscly cuirasses should come back in style. I'd love to don one of these and head down to the local pub with a few of my closest companions. In any case, let's kick her off here. For the armor and helmet, I'm base coating with Necro Gold. You can see my bottle says something different there. So with this method, I didn't think it was anything particularly special, but when I went to an event with them, I got a lot of compliments and questions asking how I did the armor. So it seems like something worth sharing. And when that's dry, I'll give it a wash of Nuln Oil. And this is the old version of Nuln Oil. I've heard the newest stuff is quite different than a traditional wash. So if that's the case, maybe just use an Army Painter, Black Wash, Pro Acryl, what have you. Let the wash dry thoroughly, and then we're going to dry brush it with Elven Gold. Nice bright golden color. So I use scale 75 for all my metallics. Their chromatic paints can be pretty finicky, and I even made a video about that, but the metallics seem to work like any normal paint, and I think they work well. So the next step will be black lining a little bit, reinforcing the shadows. I'm using just thinned flat black from Scale Color. You can see I did, pretty much finish most of the model. So I definitely needed to finish that strap going across the chest before I did this step. But if there's no interfering bits, you could definitely do this black lining immediately after dry brushing. Probably going to be the last step, but we're going to use Elven Gold again mixed with Citrine Alchemy. That's actually a paint from specialty metallics box, blue metallics, green metallics, etc. Some really fun colors in that set, but the citrine color isn't the best. It's quite thin, but it is quite bright. So we're doing this in two steps. The first one is a mix of mostly Elven Gold, a little bit of citrine, and then I'll go back with 50-50 gold to citrine to really pop it. Lastly, you could do some point highlighting with the citrine alone, but this armor is pretty curvy, so didn't seem appropriate in most cases. So this breastplate doesn't have it, but some of them do have nips on them, so just a little point highlight on that nip would be perfect. So I said the last step was probably going to be the last one. That's going to be up to you. So depends on if you're going to matte varnish and when. If you're not going to matte varnish, painting over plastics, may not really be necessary. You're all good. If you are going to matte varnish, you got two options. First, and probably the one I'd recommend, is do the matte varnish before the final highlight of that Elven Gold and citrine. It'll give you the nice bright metallic look. Otherwise, you got another step on your hands, which is going back with a gloss varnish to go back over your highlights with. There's something about that citrine color where if it's matte, it's just very, very dull looking. So you can use any kind of gloss. What I have is just the, craft store stuff. And try to just hit the raised areas. Keep it out of the cracks. Kind of like a controlled dry brush. And that's really it. And here is the finished model with his gleaming armor. And here he is with the rest of the gang. An imposing unit, if there ever was one. If you're interested in these models, you can pop back to the Macedonian Successor Cavalry kit review that I did previously. And if you're more interested in the painting on those horses, the Numidian Cavalry kit has a step-by-step process on how I painted the horses. If you found this helpful, definitely post below. I'm curious if this method has more or less steps than your current method for painting gold. And if you do have a secret recipe for painting gold, go ahead and post that below. I'm always looking for new ways to do things. The next tutorial coming up will be an interesting method for painting white. So if you don't want to miss that, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, that's it for this one. As always, best of luck in all your battles, be they on or off the tabletop. Later, folks.
Saga!
If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.